So this is another big category, dealing with patient retention. And remember, there's four big categories of a business. It's your new business, so we're going to keep a lot of attention, we're going to pay a lot of attention and details on new business. That's the new patients. Number two is patient retention, so we're going to have detailed analysis of patient retention. Number three are your fees, so we're going to have a detailed analysis of your fees. And number four is your overhead, so we're going to have a detailed analysis relative to the overhead. And that's how we're going to control and interpret and decide where to go and what to do. So this patient dropout analysis, here's what it looks like. It's pretty simple. Now remember, there's three types of patient retention. First is market forces. That's what the patient does. Number two is what's called functional capacity. That's when they'll come in for a particular problem. You treat them for that particular problem, and they stay through, say, the three phases of healing for that particular problem. So that's the functional capacity. And the third category is lifestyle. And they pyramid on one another, but they're not educated in at the same time. And I cover that separately in patient education and retention. But this particular dropout list shows the functional capacity. If we were going to evaluate the lifestyle also, then this number would go up to 60. Because you'll get 30, 40, 50, and up to 60 patient visits a year from patients when you start including your lifestyle patient education on top of your functional capacity. So just be aware, this sheet does not evaluate lifestyle. It evaluates functional capacity. That's what this does. If I was looking at lifestyle too, I would run that number up to 60. Okay. So remember how you do this is you want to take a and really how often you should do it. How often you should do it is based on what you expect. So what is your patient retention? What is it, and what is it based on? Well, what it should be based on is their biomarkers relative to the three phases of healing. That's what their patient care should be based on. Now, that's often not the case because a lot of times doctors don't have the knowledge or confrontation. They don't have the confrontation to communicate with patients, and they don't have the knowledge or skill. And so a lot of times that's not the case, and it's a lot less. But that's what patient care should be based on. And when it's not, it's called not being the standard of care. There's something called a standard of care. And when you don't give standard of care, the definition of that is called malpractice. And so standard of care is care based on the patient's biomarkers relative to the three phases of healing. That's called standard of care. So having said that, that's what it should be based on. Now, you should know what number you are looking for and what it's based on. And then the frequency that you do this, when you're learning and trying to increase your skill level or trying to get better, you should do this every 4 months because the life cycle of an active patient, and an active patient is like daily, 3 times a week, twice a week, once a week. The life cycle of an active patient is about 3 months, typically no more than 4 months. And so every 4 months, you'll get a true whole new group of analysis to compare to your new skill level. So when you're learning how to do patient education, this should easily be done every 4 months until you have the skill level of what you want. Now, so that's the frequency. So let's get into how this is done. So all you do is we need a large enough sample size. So we're going to go back 50 patients. You can do it with a minimum of 30, but the lower the number, the less accurate it's going to be. So a 50 is a very good number to give a good trend line. So all we're going to do is we're going to put 50 patients here. Now, which patients are we going to do? That's very important. You do not want to include your last 30 days. So you go back the previous 30 days and start from there. And the reason you don't conclude the last 30 days is they haven't been through market forces yet. You could have had a new patient start 2 days ago. So he hasn't even had the opportunity to drop out or stay. That's why you do not include the last 30 days. So you'd go back to at least 30 days, start, from that month, and then go straight back, include every patient for the last 50 patients, and put them down there. And then don't leave anybody out. You can always segment later. We can always take things out, but again, this has to do with fudging on statistics. And, chiropractors are pretty good at either fudging or rationalizing statistics. So you put them down there, and it doesn't matter, what happened. Those 50 patients in a row go down. Now, again, like I said, we could segment out and gather more detailed information. And a simple example is I did this with a client one time, and he had quite a few patients in there that were he contracted with like an older home facility where he did their re-exams. And he contracted with several, so every now and then he'd run out and do re-exams. Well, that had nothing to do with his regular system. So we included them initially. No, include everything. And then when we went through the sources, we saw there was quite a few patients there that were in that category. Then we said, okay, let's remove those because they have absolutely nothing to do with a regular patient visit. They were just one-off exams, at old care centers. That's all it was. So that's kind of a classic example of you can segment out and get more detail. So you put the patient's name down, and then where it says 1 through 20, all you do is right across from their name, you would just drop an X, put an X in the box that corresponds with the visit number that they dropped out. So if on the first patient there, if he dropped out on the first visit, you put an X. That's what you'd do, put an X. Now, do that for every patient. So if you have a patient here that you're still seeing and they haven't dropped out, there should be no X. Now, go to the bottom. After you've done everybody, you go to the bottom and you tally the number. And it is unbelievable the information you can get when we do this. So, number one, we can see with patient retention, we can see exactly, we would just first go, well, where's the largest number? Where's the most patients dropping out? Then we would go to that number. So we already now know what day they're dropping out. Now, what we also know is on any particular day, the specific events that should happen. So as an example, let's say, on day 3, there should be 10 specific events that happen, and they should be in this order, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, okay? Now, so we'll know it's day 3 by doing the dropout analysis. But now we'll know which topic in day 3 when we do the recordings. So we'll record patient interactions as we're increasing our skill level and check how well somebody's skill level is. So we'll see, well, did you do all 10 things, number 1? So we'll listen to the recording. Did you do all 10, number 1? Number 2, how well did you do them? And when we do that, that is how unbelievably specific we can be to find your exact patient retention problems and identify the exact day, not just the day, but the exact subject within multiple subjects. And then we can train that in, and we can clean that in 72 hours. In 72 hours, we can totally eliminate that negative statistic. That's how fast we can do that by this analysis and this practice analysis. So this is remember, there's 4 big categories of statistics we're going to pay attention to: new patients, retention, fees, and overhead. We're going to do a detailed dive. So this is how we would do the detailed dive with patient retention. And that's the frequency that it should be done, and that's why it should be done.